Lights, camera, action. It's a capture of actions, feelings, moods, and brings them to your senses and sensibilities. It strips society of its facade and brings its nuances bare to the mind to criticize. It is storytelling, not only by the fireside, but by the machines. It is filmmaking. Mind-bending, to say the least. The art that makes the mind malleable to the heat of its stories, be it true or fiction. Filmmaking is technically the process by which a motion picture is produced. It is explained as the direction of production of films for any flat panel or area on any electronic device, be it cinema, television, computers, or even smartphones. Frenchman Louis-Émile Augustin Le Prince is credited as the father of cinematography. He was the inventor of the first motion picture camera in 1888. His invention was more advanced than the likes of William Freeze Grain and Wordsworth Doningthorpe. They were British inventors who were also professional photographers who invented some but not fully developed cameras.
Celluloid, that's where we got the name film. Celluloid, the material is a film. Celluloid is just like photography. Taking the pictures of a human being in those, our old system. You got a film as a material which you put into the camera. You snap it. You have to go and print it at a laboratory with chemicals. Get a negative out of it before you can print it on the paper to get the picture for the person you took the picture from. In movies, it was the same at that time. The film material is also in that form. After shooting the film, exposing it, you have to take the whole negative to the laboratory to wash, process, and get the negative before you can print a positive from the negative, before you can put it into a cinema projector to screen it.
The art of filmmaking has traveled the shores of its original homes to all parts of the world, including Africa, and to a narrowed extent, Ghana. This is the story of the evolution of filmmaking in Ghana, how it has changed with the philosophy, technology, and storytelling through the minds behind the industry. But before then, let's go way back into time. Like the wolf in sheep's clothing, the introduction of filmmaking in the Gold Coast poured through the colonial private hands in the 1920s with the opening of cinemas in the urban areas. It was a form of entertainment for the colonial elites. However, the colonialists also had a vested interest in ensuring that the Africans of the Gold Coast saw their role as subjects of the British Crown as paramount. To achieve this, one of the tools they successfully used was cinema.
I have arranged for the mass education lorry to come here for this lesson. Please stand here. That is the driver. That is the driver's mate. Pay your fares. Passengers must pay fares. If a lorry is not available, an arrangement of benches will do instead. Please sit down. Notices of all sorts can be written with chalk on boards so that they can be changed for each lesson.
Before the Second World War, they produced films that enticed Africans to enlist in the military with promises of better remuneration after the war. However, in 1948, after the Second World War, in their usual way of making film to pass on messages and to make themselves look superior, they produced films that portrayed them as the frontier force, and African soldiers were left out, who, as a matter of fact, formed the major part of the frontier force. This, alongside other economic factors and promises reneged on, angered the soldiers, and they revolted on the 28th February 1948, which unfortunately led to the death of 3 soldiers, Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and Private Udati Lamti.
The late Usuala Tamanche, he joined and organized the looting. There was the looting in the shops, which often spread to the regions. Well, what they bring behind, so it was a very frightening sight. And we came from school to see. We saw. This was 1948. We were then in Stand 7 to Susalem. And we saw. It was very frightening. They went on for some time until it was controlled. Then, same things started happening after the death of the 3 soldiers.
In trying to make amends, the colonialists decided to restructure some of their policies and actions. One of the main recommendations was to build a film school in Accra to serve the West African territories. It was to train Africans to make films within the colonies for themselves.
There were changes in the colonial setup, and a decision was taken that the colonial government will set up a film school. It was part of it. The colonial government will set up a film school, a West African film school, to train West Africans how to shoot films. It was a decision after that revolt. But to me, later on, what I saw during my history in the filmmaking was that the reporters who were sent to the various countries outside the colonial headquarters to film, they were not, to them, I think it was discovered that they were not speaking the truth. They were not presenting the truth. So that was why the colonial government decided to set up a film school to train the locals to shoot their own films, to shoot their films so that they could see the other side of it too. And it started with 3 Nigerians, 3 Ghanaians, 3 Nigerians, Fajamesin, Otigba, and Rauna. And then the Ghana side, we have Samaite, Fenuku, and Bobukanta.
They later changed the name to Gold Coast Film Unit.
The West African Film School had metamorphosed to the Gold Coast Film Unit because they were training, they've had enough graduates. So they changed from the film school to the Gold Coast Film Unit. And while at the Gold Coast Film level, they were still training people back on the job. So the school changed to the Gold Coast Film Unit, which became the Ghana Film Unit. So we've been attending cinemas, Rex, Ra, Riga, those were the old cinemas, particularly Rex. We were going to Rex, seeing King Kong and all those films. So I was a cinema fan. So I said, I should go and learn filmmaking. So I was admitted in 1954. That was how I went in there.
Sean Graham was the director of the Gold Coast Film Unit.
Sean Graham, he was in charge of the Gold Coast Film Unit. The colonial government sent him to come and train to be the principal. Let's call it the principal, to be the director of the film school. And then we had Peter Hall, the sound man, Knight, George Nova, the head camera, and all the departments were headed by whites.
At this time, films made were more educational on payments of taxes, British etiquette, and some feature films such as The Boy Kumasenu and more.
And wife lives a happy and contented life, but a wife without a house makes much trouble for her spouse. Brothers, take advice from me. If you want to live peacefully, do like Mr. Mason in the story I will tell. Build a house and build it quick and see you build it well. Own your home and love your wife. You'll taste happiness all your life. Mr. Mason there in Yale built no house at all, for his nephew took his money and then spent it all. Now his house is all but done. Let me tell you how it all began.
And it was a river of no return. I liked it. At that time, I was preparing myself to, my aim was to do pharmacy at the Kwame Nkrumah University. And I changed my mind. I loved it. I loved the creative work. So I changed my mind and got stuck. And that's how I became a film man.
To help and guide them, give them strength and fortitude, for their way into the new world is set about with snares and pitfalls which can cause them great suffering if they stray too far from the old ways, if they stray too far, too soon. Thus the past, out of its wisdom, spoke to the future and its longings. Sail bravely into the new, but let the wake of your craft be gentle. Let your past remain upright and proud until we build our ships of the same timber and launch them with our common hopes.
There is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. We are going to say that we create our own African personality and identity. It's the only way in which we can show the world that we are ready for our own battle.
Ghana gained independence in 1957. Knowing the power of film, when Dr. Kwame Nkrumah won independence for Ghana, he decided to use film to change the narrative and to enhance the African and her pride. He then restructured the whole Gold Coast Film Unit into Ghana Film Industry Corporation and engaged the services of Sean Graham.
They were still there. You see, so there were certain productions which were doing the Gold Coast Film Unit, so Ghana Film Unit, so Ghana Film. It was a continuous job. So Sean Graham was the director, and during his time, the Ghana Film Unit, the Ghana Film Corporation, it was a continuous job. You know, like Boy Kumasenu and all were started doing the colonial days. Those things were started doing the colonial days, but we continue. The Ghana Film Unit. I'm a new child. Mr. Mason built the house. and all those productions, which were all directed by Sean Graham. Then, after our independence, after some time, they decided to leave. Then, Sean Graham stayed on for a period because the truth is that the colonial government sacked Sean Graham. Oh, they sacked him. They sacked him because he was sent with a vision from the colonial master that he should train the people to make films, in other words, to portray themselves to be seen. To cut matters short, the colonial government wanted to see how we were responding to the rule from the African point of view through the camera. See, but when Sean came, he was deeply touched by our cultural values. So he started making films about Ghana. Yeah. The boy Mr. Misambi's house and all those things were telling the Ghanaian story, were helping the Ghanaians to grow, to move on in life, to be independent, this is sort of. You see, so he was sacked for misapplying, misapplication of responsibility. He was misapplying the colonial strategy. So he was sacked. But and he stayed on for some few years and then left.
Dr. Kwame Nkrumah trained some Ghanaians abroad to come back and help in telling the African story the right way. Among the beneficiaries of the training program was some of Africa's foremost cinematographers like Kenan Powell.
I was sent to Germany in 1961 by Kwame Nkrumah. In those days, I was intended to go and study techniques. We call it fine techniques. So I should have become a technician, when I say fine techniques, dealing with how cameras are built, how small watches and all these measuring instruments are built. We group all of them in that category. We call it fine mechanic. Yeah. So in Germany in those days, as an African, I haven't had any experience about the technical setups, build-ups of instruments. So they first gave me the chance to go into a camera production company to learn how camera is built, the whole setup from A to Z, how it is used, and what comes out of it. So on the way, I said no. I wanted to be a technician, but now that I've seen what camera does, I would like to change my profession and use the camera to tell stories, to make films, so that I can go back as a filmmaker.
Nkrumah's vision in the establishment of the GFIC was to use indigenous Ghanaian films to turn around the negative impact of the films made by the colonial government, and also to build self-reliance and to restore the pride of the Ghanaian and, to a large extent, the African.
Then Kwame Nkrumah restructured the whole film unit, built studios, built sound recording place, and modernize the whole thing. and became the Ghana Film Industry Corporation. There were some few whites who came, but they didn't stay long until the whole thing was Africanized. And Professor Kofi Awuna was the first African Ghanaian managing director of the restructured Ghana Film Industry Corporation.
To cover newsreels and document, big events and so forth and so on. And we did that, and sometimes it was processed and sent to GBC by 1965 when television was established.
By the late 1960s, it had produced more than 150 feature and documentary films.
Election time, especially GBC. We made films for GBC to tell the world what they have done.
Alas, Nkrumah toppled. The film industry took a nosedive due to ill attention, which was the beginning of the near end of the industry, lurking for time to nigh. In our next episode, we look at how the overthrow of Nkrumah affected the industry, the establishment of NAFTI, the introduction of video and its travels, and the sale of the Ghana film industry. Make a date.
One level. Ayalolo, ayalolo.